this week's sports stories are pretty hilarious in my opinion, and I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know how this really helps when we're looking at the talk or the expectation or those that want growth for women's sports. I don't know that these two situations really help that cause, and one of them might not even be as significant as the other. I'm gonna get to the Naomi Osaka situation in just a second. I'm a couple days late on talking about the whole Liz Cambage. I don't even know what this is, but the WNBA's Liz Cambage. I think she's a three-time All-Star. She's like 6'8". I believe she's like 230 something pounds, but this story is bizarre to me. So the head coach of the Connecticut Sun, Kurt Miller, has been fined. I think it was fined $10,000, and maybe suspended. Maybe that's not the major thing here. Cambage plays for the Las Vegas Aces. So Miller, all the coach did was yelled at the officials during the game that Cambage is 300 pounds. She's probably the biggest athlete on the court, and the guy in the midst of the game is trying to work the referees. We see this all the time in men's sports. In all of them. If the other team has a player that is just has a physical advantage over everybody else, nobody is looking for the perfect words to say. And I texted this to, hey, I was just getting ready to say, I texted Latoris Harrison the other day. We just started seeing that we just started seeing the highlight of Shaquille O'Neal dunking on Christopher Dudley. They passed the ball inside into the post with Shaquille on the block, and he does a drop step basically, and just bounces Dudley out of the way, goes up for the dunk, puts his groin and everything all in Dudley's face, comes down and pushes Dudley to the ground, and then it's an iconic play. But you don't think that the Knicks and then Dudley got up and threw the ball halfway through the ball, or half-heartedly threw the ball in Shaq's direction. And he didn't want no smoke, obviously. But you don't think that the Knicks head coach at the time didn't go and tell the referees that Shaq is 500 pounds or Shaq is strong as a gorilla or something? You don't think something outlandish was said to convey, help my team out, help us, we need help with that guy? So it's this situation right here, because the coach said that she was 300 pounds during the game. That's not going to do a whole lot for women's basketball, to be honest with you. And I remember back when I was coming out of high school, there was some talks out there about women being in the locker room for men's sports. We got through it. I mean, we figured it out. It was no big deal. But here, how are we going to do our thing and debate and talk about and do what we do with sports? How are we going to do that with women's sports? And you have to be this damn politically correct just to have fun with these types of aspects of professional sports. I'm not even going to get into Cambage's live where she referred to herself as a big bitch or whatever it is. I mean, you're kind of like advocating, or you're kind of agreeing with the coach who called you a 300 pounder. But like I said, man, some people don't even need a mic in their face. Which brings me to Naomi Osaka. I'm trying to rock with Osaka. I like her game. She came out of nowhere. She's a younger player. I'm like, okay, let me check. She can play. She's good. She's number one in the world right now, whatnot. I'm like, okay, let me check her out. But it's just like the more and more I hear from her, she just sounds like a young individual, and it's like some people just need to keep the main thing the main thing. Just stick with tennis. So I'm seeing yesterday on Instagram on like the Essence account, and they had some quote from Naomi talking about I'm not gonna talk to people. I'm no longer gonna talk with people who doubt me. And like 400 people were like, yeah, sis, yeah, girl, go, girl. You know, hearts and all of this approval of the statement. I'm sitting here scratching my head like I don't even know what she means. Like what does that mean? I'm not going to talk to people who doubt me. Ooh, okay. So I dig into it a little. I waste my time and dig into it a little bit more and see that she was actually the post on Essence and what people were hitting like about doesn't even line up with what the entire comment was about. If you go find what the comment was the in its entirety. But what's going on is she tells some people that it's all about mental health. She's telling some people I've often felt that people have no regard for athletes' mental health, and this rings very true whenever I see a press conference or partake in one. She wrote. Um, and she comes down and says, if the organization is thinking that they can just keep saying do press or you're going to be fined and continue to ignore the mental health of the athletes that are the centerpiece of their cooperation, then I just gotta laugh. Then she comes back and says, I've watched many clips of athletes breaking down after a loss in the press room, and I know you have as well. I believe that the whole situation is kicking a person. I believe that the whole situation is kicking a person while they're down, and I don't understand the reasoning behind it. It's not that serious, okay? Like Coach said, we play to win the game. The person that loses the game, you don't just to get to go home, go pack your bag up, or go hit the shower or leave. We got to talk about what you did. Nobody really care about you personally, and nobody's really taking shots at. Nobody is coming to you with a microphone. You know, people are asking, you playing a game. Maybe you should have negotiated something into the contract that, you know, I'm not doing any media. See how that works out for you. But the reason why we all remember famously a few years ago with Beast Mode, you know, where he was like, I'm just showing up so I don't get fined. Next question. Or I'm feeling very good today. Next question. You know, you could do something like that. But I mean, media there to cover the sport is how people maintain interest in the sport until the next match happens, until the next game happens, until the next fight happens. I mean, it is a purpose for it. You know, everybody is not just sitting here trying to embarrass you by asking you, why did you double fault? Or is there anything that you can do in the future to avoid double faulting or whatever? You know, your forehand was bad today, or your backhand, or your second serve, or whatever. It's people that have been covering these sports for decades sometimes, and they're asking you very specific stuff about the game that cultivates the interest in the game. So to sit here and talking about all of this type of stuff right here, I get it if you feel. I mean, if LeBron was talking about, I don't want to do interviews with Skip Bayless, I somewhat understand that. That relationship has become personal, contentious. A lot of stuff that Skip Bayless says is completely outrageous and it's shock value type stuff. I can understand that, but the reporters that are at events, actual reporters, and in the locker rooms and whatnot at the press conferences, they're there for a legit purpose. And I'm sorry if this 22, 23-year-old young woman doesn't really understand that, because of how young she is, but they are there for a purpose. Um, she goes on to say, I don't know if this was a Twitter post or Instagram or whatever, but she says we're often sat there and asked questions that we've been asked multiple times before, or asked questions that bring doubt into our minds. Here's where the whole thing gets to it. Or ask questions that bring doubt into our minds, Osaka wrote. And I'm just not going to subject myself to people that doubt me. Again, if somebody is asking you about where you lost 4 or 5, match points in a row or whatever, that's getting to what was going through your mind at that particular moment. That's why we follow sports. That's why people want follow. That's the interest in this stuff besides just watching it. So if you don't want to take a moment to explain that, I guess you're sensitive like that. But for you to say that the questions that bring doubt into your mind, I mean, sis just made $55 million last year. Came out earlier this week. She just made $55 million. I don't think women want to get accolades, line a man without having to endure like men. Yeah, I think you meant like a man, but exactly. Like, that's professional sports. And if you don't want any part of that, then quit. Go be Corday's girlfriend instead of Corday being your boyfriend who happens to rap. It's no big deal. We'll all be okay. So I don't know, man. Just between Osaka and Cambage this week, this is some weirdo shit in sports that and the whole thing last year with the mask, when Osaka was wearing the mask or whatever at the U.S. Open, to come out and say that because one of her statements that didn't really jive right for me was she said something about police are committing genocide on black people, and that's when words matter. There aren't like kill squads out there. There aren't literally kill squads out there. We do know with some instances here and there's the FBI or whatever has reported that there are hate groups that have infiltrated law enforcement across the country. We understand that. But there's not an official department or group at the police station that's just out here killing black people. So for me, when this young woman went out there last year and ran out there with police are committing genocide on black people, that's just not a true statement. And I don't know that really does, with the lack of understanding in this country right now, the inability for people to really use any kind of common sense in understanding what people are trying to say. I don't know if that statement really helped the cause that she was trying to make or take, or the stance she was trying to take. But that's neither here nor there. But this stuff right here, I'm not going to talk to people that doubt me. Don't play. Send back the $55 million to all of the endorsement deals, and go do something else in life. See how people listen to you when you don't win 3 or 4 Grand Slams in 2 years. Come sit in my seat and do what I do, and see how people listen to you when you're not a number 1 ranked tennis player in the world, and you're under 25 years old, and see how the world ignores your ass then, and then see how you would love for anybody to talk to you. So I don't know, man. This is why I don't talk a whole lot about sports, because some of these individuals keep the main thing the main thing. That's with a lot of these cats, just keep the main thing the main thing. That was it, man. I was just gonna check in with that. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, man. I'll close with I mentioned this to Latoris. I'm a huge fan. I think for
for women in sports, period, not actually playing sports, but in terms of female broadcasters, ESPN's Monica McNutt, she's really emerged as a very entertaining. I like her style, and I think I've been listening to some of her sports takes over the last month and a half, and I enjoy her commentary. And then I think, and I'm trying to I'm giving her a shot and seeing where she's going with her career as her presence expands on ESPN, and the things that she was saying about the WNBA. And then Liz Cambage comes out and just completely shoots all that shit to hell when I'm like, maybe there isn't any reason for me to tune into the WNBA. So, sorry, McNutt. I'm going to check you out on your NBA talk and just your sports commentary in general, but if we're gonna have to have like a if like only females are going to be able to cover the WNBA because us men are just too dumb, not to call a 6'8", 250-pound woman just because we're off 25, 35 pounds in the weight that we assign to that individual. Well, we're probably gonna screw up a lot of shit. So maybe the men should just stay out of the mix. Anyway, I'm gonna come back on later on. I do have some comments to talk about on the whole situation with Russell Westbrook, with the popcorn situation. I think that was in Philadelphia. I'm gonna get to that later on tonight. But let me get on out of here, man. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.